Assalamu alaikum. This is Arooj Muzaffar from the University of Southern Punjab Department of English. The subject that we are discussing is functional English, and previously we dealt with the first chapter, foundation of functional English. This lecture is once again about the further exploration of the same chapter, which was foundation of functional English. Previously we dealt with that how a sentence structure regarding its complexities, its conversation and communicative grammars can be used and understood. We discussed idiomatic expressions, synonyms and antonyms. Today we are going to discuss further about it. Well, hello everyone and a very good day to all of you. I hope you are doing great and ready for the exciting journey into the world of learning. We are diving into the further exploration of the same chapter, and the warm up questions from that chapter are that have you ever felt like you are just memorizing rules without understanding how they actually work in real life conversations? Get ready to ditch the dull drills and dive into dynamic world of communicative grammar. This is not your average textbook grammar. It's a living, breathing skill that helps you say exactly what you mean and truly connect with others. Imagine having the power to express yourself with confidence, charm and clarity. Whether you are sharing a story, debating an idea or just chatting with a new friend, this approach focuses on purposeful language, showing you how grammar is not just a set of rules but a toolkit for effective communication. So, let us unlock the secret behind how language works in the wild and transform your understanding from rote knowledge to genuine impactful skill. Let us discuss about it. Like in the previous section we discussed that English language is basically about communication and communicative functions. It was about synonyms, antonyms, that you must know the further exploration of a word to know more about that word. In this lecture we are going to discuss that how sentence patterns and our complexities in the words are going to transform the meaning in the sentences. And by the end of this lecture you will be able to learn grammar is not just as a set of rules but in terms of its functions and purpose. This shifts the focus from what is this to how can I use this. Communicative grammar emphasizes choosing the right words and structures for right situation. You will learn to differentiate between formal and informal language and how to adapt your speech and writing to different audiences and social settings. And by focusing on practical application, this approach helps you develop fluency and confidence. Instead of getting stuck trying to recall a specific rule, you will be able to instinctively choose the right grammatical form to express your intended meanings. And in this way, obviously, your English is going to be more communicative, more natural and in more fluency. You will gain a better understanding of pragmatics, which is the study of how context contributes to meanings. Instead of just marking errors as wrong, you will learn to analyze them in terms of how they affect communication. This creates a more positive and productive learning experience, which is of course going to be very joyful as well. Let us have a comparative analysis of traditional and modern view regarding it. Traditional grammar and communicative grammar represent two distinct philosophies in language teaching. Traditional grammar, which is also known as prescriptive grammar, is a rule based approach that focuses on the formal structure of the language. It basically emphasizes on memorization of rules, parts of speech, different vocabulary, sentence diagrams, often with the goal of achieving correct usage based on established norms which were historically derived and deprived from classical languages like Latin, French, and this approach that we are going to discuss today, which is basically communicative grammar, is often that which treats grammar as a rule of static, decontextualized rules to be mastered through drills and exercises with a primary focus on accuracy in written language. In contrast, communicative grammar is descriptive and functional approach that prioritizes using language for real world communication. It views grammar not as an end in itself, but as a tool to help learners express meaning, intent and social purposes. The focus shifts from memorizing rules to understanding how grammatical choices affect a message, tone, clarity and appropriateness in different contexts. This method encourages fluency, confidence, naturality, even if it means initially making mistakes. The goal is to equip learners with the ability to navigate from various communicative situations, from casual conversations to formal presentations, by understanding that grammar is a flexible system that serves the need of the speaker and listener, of course. Let us discuss an example. Consider that simple grammatical structure as example to it. The verb tense for a past action. Traditional grammar approaches that a traditional grammar lesson would likely focus on the simple past tense as a form. The teacher might explain some rules, like to form the simple past sentence of a regular verb, add ed, which is the third form obviously, to the base form. For example, walk becomes walked, tire becomes tired, and irregular verbs, which is a list of common words that would be provided for memorizations, like in Go we do not add ed, we make it convert into went, eat becomes ate. The exercise is that students would complete a worksheet filling the blanks with the correct past tense form. For example, yesterday I dashed to school, walk or walked. Last week she dashed to the store, go or went. Obviously, according to past sentence, we are going to apply the second form into it. The primary goal here is to ensure students can correctly produce the morphological form of the verb, showing their knowledge of the rule. The context of the sentence is secondary to the correct application of the grammatical rule. Communicative grammar approach is totally in contrast to the traditional approach, a communicative grammar. It would be focusing on talking about past experiences. The teacher might introduce the simple past sentence by using it in a realistic context. Like we can go for an activity in which the teacher would start by saying and asking, what did you do last weekend? The function of this sentence is that the lesson would be framed around the function of the simple past tense. To describe finished actions in the past, the teacher would explain that we use this tense to tell stories, report events and share experiences. This can be practiced through any activity that would not be a simple fill in the blank activity, as had been discussed in the previous approach. Instead, students might be asked to interview a partner about their recent vacation or to describe a favorite childhood memory, in which the focus is on meaning. The teacher's feedback would focus on whether the message was clear and understandable. If a student says, yesterday I go to the park, the teacher might gently correct them by saying, so yesterday you went to the park. Here the teacher had not scolded, he had not asked for memorizing the word. He had rather corrected it and then continue the conversation asking, what did you do there? In this sentence, did is used once again as the second form. The emphasis is on facilitating communication, not just on making an error. The subject verb agreement. In this context of communicative grammar, subject verb agreement is not just about applying a static rule. It is about making your message clear and natural for a listener and a reader. While traditional grammar focuses on the singular and plural forms of the verbs as a stand-alone concept of communicative grammar, a communicative approach embeds this rule within real life scenarios where it actually matters. For example, instead of a simple fill in the blank exercise, a lesson would involve students talking about their daily routines or family members or some vacation or a trip. If a student says, "My family are very big," the communicative approach would gently correct to "My family is very big," because in this context the family is being treated as a single unit, which is the most common and natural way to express this idea in English. The goal is to develop an intuitive sense of when and why to use certain forms so that the learner can speak and write with greater fluency and confidence, focusing on the meaning they want to convey rather than getting bogged down in an abstract set of rules. Let us move towards verb tenses. In a communicative grammar framework, verb tenses are not just about showing time, they are tools for expressing and negotiating meaning in a conversation. Instead of learning a dozen tenses through isolated charts and conjugations, the focus is on the function of each tense in a real world context. For example, a lesson on the simple present tense would not just be subject plus verb plus SES, it would be rather about expressing habits, patterns and routines. I wake up at 7 a.m. every day, or stating general truths like the sun rises in the east or the universe is based on a pattern. The present continuous tense meanwhile is taught as a way to talk about ongoing actions or temporary situations. The goal is to move learners beyond memorizing rules and towards an intuitive understanding of how tenses create a timeline and convey specific shades of meanings, enabling them to communicate more fluently and naturally. Our next topic is fragments. In a communicative grammar context, sentence fragments are not always considered errors to be avoided. Instead, they are recognized as natural and fluent part of spoken and informal language. While traditional grammar would strictly label a phrase like "just a moment" or "because of the rain" as incomplete and incorrect, a communicative approach towards these sentences understands that such fragments serve a clear communicative function. They are used to convey quick requests, quick messages, quick understanding, and to provide concise answers, or to add emphasis without the need for a full subject verb structure. The focus shifts from the formal correctness of the sentences to its effectiveness in conveying a message and maintaining a flow of a conversation that leads towards naturality. Learners are taught to recognize and use fragments appropriately, understanding that their use depends on the context and the speaker's intent. The next topic is run-ons in a communicative grammar context. Run-on sentences are not always treated as absolute errors, but rather as structures that can either be statistically effective or lead to confusion depending on the context. While traditional grammar previously strictly forbids combining two independent clauses without proper punctuation or conjunctions, communicative grammar rather adopts an approach that acknowledges that run-ons can be used for effect in informal rapid fire speech to convey a sense of urgency, excitement, or a continuous stream of thought. Think of how we talk in hurry, like I ran out of the door and I forgot my keys and then I was late for the meeting. However, the focus remains on whether the run-on hinders or they are more comprehensive. If the sentence is so long and convoluted that the listener loses threads of ideas, then it becomes a communicative problem that needs to be addressed. So, this lecture is basically about these comprehensions, and these things which are addressed in communicative approach and are not discussed and analyzed in traditional approach. This focuses on run-ons, fragments and some sentences which adopt towards naturality of a language instead of going towards the traditional approaches. This chapter closes here with a message that this communicative approach leads towards naturality in the tone, and it is very essential for a proper understanding. I hope you understand the message and the crux of it. If you are comfortable with it, you may go for the other lesson which is about understanding the comprehension of communicative grammar, and we can go for some other question answer session as well. Thank you so much.